back to Gabbin with Jessa. I know that this video is long overdue. I, I just, a lot has been going on. I kind of just been pushing it back, filming it, but I'm finally going to talk about the final episode of WandaVision. Now, what I think I'm going to do from now on, now that the Falcon and the Winter Soldier are starting up this week, is that I'm just going to talk briefly, quickly about not really discuss the whole episode, just talk about my thoughts during it, quick thoughts, quick opinions, and then make predictions. So I'm going to just talk about my final feelings for the entire series, not really describe what happened much in episode 9, just because you've probably already seen it or seen someone else do a video on it, and I totally get that. So I'm just going to talk about how I feel about the series, where I stand now, and what I'm hoping for Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So we finally got to wrap everything up. We did have our big, bad guy versus good guy with very similar powers battle. So we did get a very Marvel-esque ending, and I loved it. I loved how we still got like a big fight, but we also got a very philosophical one too. I know with superhero movies, it can get a little boring just watching, the big fight at the end. Yes, it's always fun and the big CGI, and I don't know, it's always just enjoyable, but we also got a really good philosophical fight. We fought with words, with Vision versus Vision, and I thought that was a really great way to go about it, because Vision is not necessarily really a fighter, even though he's probably one of the strongest people that we have seen. He's not a fighter, he's just not, and so I think that was a very Vision-like fight to have, because they were discussing on who is really Vision, because Vision, created from Wanda's grief, is like, well, I may look like Vision, I don't have the body of Vision, but I have, like, the memories, like, I'm getting all those back thanks to, talking with Darcy and Wanda in general. Just, I know who I am. You're kind of also Vision as well, White Vision, because you have my body. Like, you are the physical recreation of Vision. So if you're gonna come kill the Vision, who are you gonna kill? Because we're both Vision. And like I said, that was a very Vision-like tool to have, and I thought that was amazing. I think that it just fit so well, and it made me so happy, because like it just, I can't talk about how well I really liked it. And then we had the big Agatha versus Wanda fight. And again, I really like this one too. At first it kind of starts off with, just throwing the same things, spells at each other, just in different colors. But then we learn Wanda puts up the runes around in the hex. That way Agatha can't use her magic, which we just learned from the previous episode. And I thought that was really well done too. Agatha Harkness in the comics isn't necessarily really a villain. She's actually a teacher and mentor to Wanda. So I thought that was kind of their way of bringing that aspect of the character in, while still kind of keeping her the villain, so that way we still have kind of like a Marvel bad villain. Because I guess Hayward's also the villain too, but like he's like shooting kids like he did in this. Oh my goodness gracious. But Wanda learned from her. She learned the mistake that was made. Not really a mistake on her part, but just something she was able to learn. And she hasn't really had a good mentor like that before. Even though I wouldn't necessarily call Agatha in this show a mentor, she was still able to learn from someone and get that mentorship that she deserves from someone that has power similar to hers. I mean, they're both witches, which is what we learned, and she's never really had anyone to look up to. She's never had anyone to help her, and I'm glad that this was included. I'm glad that she learned, and yeah, it might have been like a little bit of cop-out that I've heard some people saying, but it makes sense. I think it makes sense, so that way we can still draw from Marvel Comics and what Agatha was to Wanda, but also keep Agatha the way they've created her in this show. Let's see, Monica. They didn't really have too much with her. She did join in the battle with Tommy, and Billy. So I thought that was a lot of fun. When Hayward was, again, shooting at these children, she jumped in front and we saw all the bullets like go through her, so that was really cool. She didn't really get too much of a ending that I would have liked. I would have liked to see a little more from her, but she did sympathize with Wanda, empathize with her when all the town was looking at her all funny after everything went back to normal. Like, she understands how she's feeling. She's like, no one gets what you're going through. They don't understand it, and they don't know like what you've given up just to help them. Like, you could have just stayed like this, and she knew, like, she completely understood, because she was like, yeah, I would have done the same thing with my mom if I had your kind of powers. And then we also found out that someone, a friend of her mom's, has been wondering where she was or needed her for a mission, but up in space. So I'm guessing that she's going to be introduced into either Captain Marvel 2, hopefully. Maybe we'll find out if there's like a little beef between them, because that never really got resolved from one of the earlier episodes where they mentioned Captain Marvel and she was basically like, we're not talking about her now. And so maybe there's some beef that will get summarized or, you know, cleared up in Captain Marvel 2. But I also think Nick Fury has a show coming out. I think maybe she'll be in that one too. That would be a lot of fun. We need more Monica. That's all I'm saying, is that we need more Monica. So in the end, the show is about grief, and it is about how people handle grief. And for the longest time, I didn't really want to think that that was what this show was about. I didn't want to think that Wanda was the villain. She's one of my favorites. Just sadness, but then you realize it's not sadness that she lost Vision. It is grief. Her magic took over her, and everything just came at a head, and that's what happened. I don't think she really intentionally ever meant to entrap everyone in that city. I don't think that's what she wanted at all. If Hayward would have just given her Vision's body so she could have buried it, I honestly think it would have been okay. I think none of this would have happened. But of course, Hayward wouldn't let that because, you know, he's worth money. And so I think that this, for, I don't know, because just after Endgame, I kept saying during the show, I'm like, no, like, she's fine. She seems so fine after Endgame, because her and Hawkeye were talking, because they were talking about losing Vision and losing Scarlett Johansson, that, like, she's like, no, I know that they know that we did good. And I'm like, see? She's fine. It's okay. But just because someone seems fine on the outside doesn't mean that they are. And I think Wanda, from that time of when everyone started coming back to the funeral, to her going into the sword agency, I think that she was putting on a face this whole time. The one that I got at Endgame that made me so confused for the whole part of the show. I think that she was trying to pretend like she was okay, and she wasn't okay. And then just the fact that she couldn't do one thing, just one thing that I don't think would have disrespected Vision's will, like what Hayward was doing, that did. But I think putting his body in the ground wouldn't have been that bad of a thing. But everyone seems to think it would have been that bad of a thing, or Hayward does. He's convinced there. And so I think that was the point, especially when she couldn't feel him anymore, that just broke her, and she couldn't keep on this face anymore. The face that confused me, because like I said, I thought she was so fine, but she clearly wasn't. And I think that this is a really good show that deals with grief. Like, she not only has grief about losing Vision, but just about her whole past too. We saw in the episode about her traumas that she grew up on sitcoms. They were what made her happy, and especially in a time of war. And then when she lost her parents, and then eventually Pietro, and they were just kind of like her comfort. And so the first two episodes are about the denial stage of grief for sure, because now she's like, okay, I've got this whole happy world, and we're going to be a sitcom, and everything is going to be great, and nothing is wrong. There is no outside world. We're all just living right here. And the episodes slowly progress through those stages of grief. And I think that this was a good show for that. I think that this can be eye-opening for people who may be struggling, for people who may not know what to do. And I really like that. I really like that Marvel took this turn to introduce us to what seemed like a very wacky idea, but also really works. This show was not the one I was most excited for. I was most excited for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but then everything that happened, I am just so glad that we got something, and I love this show. I thought that it was completely different from Marvel. I think that they wanted to kind of ease us into the show more than give it to us right away, which is why we had the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which definitely seems more like a Marvel movie spread out over episodes compared to this one, when this one was completely different from the formula, at least for the majority of the time. And then they were going to bring us into WandaVision, and then they were going to bring us into Loki, which also seems like a weird time travel-y show. I don't really know, but it looks like fun, but it also looks different from a typical Marvel thing, which is also why I think they wanted to ease us in, because they're like, okay, we'll get Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that'll get us all going first, and then we'll go into WandaVision, which is our wacky new idea, but people will, start to get used to the Marvel TV show idea after Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then we'll have Loki, and they'll just like it. At least I bet that's what they hope for. And so, yeah, I really liked it. I hope, even though I loved it, I hope there is no season 2. I do not want there to be a season 2, unless we're just going to do a straight sitcom route and we get Wanda and Vision back and Agatha back, and we're just, doing sitcoms that have nothing to do with the plot, they don't tie into the MCU at all, and we're just having fun. That I would be down to see another season of that, because that was so much fun. Just give us that. That's all that I need. That's all that I want. If we're going to give us something else. I don't want there to be a season 2. There doesn't need to be a season 2. It's a mini-series. It's not supposed to keep going on for seasons. Then that's a regular series, and so it needs to end. Unless they are going to do just straight sitcoms that don't play into the MCU. Then I would be okay with that. So yeah, that was my opinions, everything. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I'm just looking forward to it. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to really play into more of what we're seeing in the world today, because we are getting a new Captain America. We are getting Anthony Mackie as the Falcon, taking over the reins, the title of Captain America in a time when people really need a Captain America after everything that they've gone through. And so I'm looking forward to see how it does. The previews that they're playing, not only do they look great with the action, but they also look so funny. Man, I love these two together. I've been saying for the longest time that I've been wanting, before Marvel was even thinking about doing TV shows, I'm like, I need a Falcon and a Winter Soldier buddy cop movie. And I think that's what we're getting here. I think that it's going to be a lot of fun. And they're both great together. Their interviews are hilarious together when, they were doing interviews. And I'm just so excited. I'm so excited. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, keep on gabbing.